So, greetings and salutations, everybody. Can you hear me clearly? And Geshe, I'll have him speak. Can you hear him clearly? Can you hear Geshe clearly? Okay, awesome. Then it appears we are good to go. So Tashi Dele, greetings to everybody, and just keep in mind that when we come together, when we gather like this should be with the motivation to train, to improve the mind. And we should understand that from the Buddhist perspective, whether we speak of happiness, whether we speak of suffering, the doer that establishes the causes for that is Chepabo Semre, the mind. So we need to train ourselves with this understanding that in the future, whatever comes, whether it is something good, whether it is something bad, the causes for all of these comings are mainly established within the mind. So this is very important to understand. Yeah. So Geshe is going to quote, so I did write this one down. He is going to quote a verse from Lama Tsongkhapa's Songs of Experience, from the Songs of Experience, or the Brief Lam Rim. Something similar. So then I'll recite what Geshe just recited. So this is from Lama Tsongkhapa's Songs of Experience. Concentration is the king that reigns over the mind. When left, it is as unwavering as the king of mountains. When set forth, it engages with all objects of virtue. It induces the great bliss of a serviceable body and mind. So Lama Tsongkhapa here, he is speaking through the direct experience of his accomplishment that he achieved through his own study and meditation. So that is the voice with which he is speaking here. So when we are able to train the mind very fully, and when it is able to become focused, it can abide on the object of meditation in a stable way, like the king of mountains, like Mount Meru. So if we look at our own experience, right, let's take the exercise of thinking, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. We can bring forth that wish in our mind, but we can't hold on to it for an extended period. Similarly, when we bring forth the motivation, may I achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, we can bring it forth in our mind, we can conceive it, but we can't hold on to it for a long time. And similarly, we might be able to think, that the happinesses of samsara, they are not meaningful, they are not lasting, that I must aspire for the happiness of moksha or liberation. We can have that internal dialogue, but can we hold on to that understanding or wish single-pointedly in the mind? Not so easy, right? We often lose it. So this is why we need to train in single-pointed samadhi or concentration. This is why we need to develop the powers of mindfulness and introspection so that we can hold on to these aspirations. Ale, lo sé. So if we say that it induces the great bliss of a serviceable body and mind, Geshe said that might be in a future lifetime the fruits of training that we achieve. But we can understand that there will be some immediate benefits, right, in this life as well. So if we are going to practice in the fullest sense of the word, then we have to identify these distractions as the enemies of our concentration, and we have to sort of cultivate the antidotes to those enemies. And if we can train our mind in this way, we will achieve a type of freedom in the mind, and in that way we will also have the basis to be able to reach all the temporary and ultimate states of happiness. Oh, right. And so when we look at this treaty stages of meditation, the Bhāvanākrama by Kamalaśīla, it is really in some ways a discussion of śamatha and vipaśyanā, of calm abiding and special insight. And Geshe said in particular, right, it's asserting a very clear view at a time where there was contention, where there was disagreement, right, with Hashang's view, as it's described. And similarly, when we're cultivating this, we can understand that even with our worldly activities, through developing our concentration, the qualities of stability, the qualities of mindfulness that we establish, this will help us in our worldly activities as well. And if we don't have this in place, then that factor of stability will be missing in our study and our practice. And our study and practice cannot improve and flourish in the way that we might hope. Yeah. So then the holy beings, they proposed many different sort of methods, strategies to stabilize the mind. And as we go through this presentation, we will discuss some of those, and then you choose the ones that will really help you to improve your concentration. So, for example, when we speak about distraction, there are two styles of instructions from the holy beings. One style of instruction is very forceful, that when that distraction arises, we immediately try to push it down or counteract it. Some holy beings say that for many practitioners, this is not helpful. When the distraction arises, we just have to think, whatever arises, let it arise. I will not pay attention to or follow it. I will let it arise and fall away. Then better I return to my object of focus. And Geshe can't say one or the other is better, right? Because it is our responsibility as the practitioner, as people who have different affinities and capacities, to experiment and see what works better for us. So Geshe said that, initially what he would suggest is, experiment with both of these methods of countering distraction and see which one is more beneficial for your mental cultivation. So we will come to a further and more extensive discussion of that as we continue with the class. But first, let us take a moment to stabilize and calm the mind. Bringing the four elements into balance, let us calm our body and our mind. So think just like when you breathe you breathe your breath on a mirror, it condenses into one point in the middle, which finally dissolves. Think as we still the mind, then all of the objects of distraction it was going out to, it starts to dissolve away from those until our attention finally becomes that last point, which dissolves into the mental consciousness. So think any difficult feelings, mental projections, conceptualities that may have arisen. As we relax the mind, these are able to dissolve away until we are resting in the mental consciousness. So think as we tap into the mind's nature, it is like a full moon, cloudless sky. It is pure luminosity, completely parted from clouds.
dawa shayu kala yene ta dawa koroga ta mambakanga pachi sene sibo chagi yare lila yo reja jombo or chungi reja ndabo tsawa kanga pachini kibochi tega yare ten nungji osa setela mambakanga seya ta rungja yabo tini yo
yabo kuma song ringchas yangersinda ringchas
ta dawa shayu kala mambakanga pamyan rogra was nagu oda ten nungji se koroyon maribi mambakanga paseyaga roju yapo tsumatrichi yo.
So just like the moon on this cloudless sky is able to dispel darkness, think tapping into the fundamentals mind, a pure luminosity, is able to clear away all unknowingness, all confusion, all ignorance.
Mariba kanga pasenita tela tenen jiva koi kangen yuzupa zonroya niba.
When, through that wisdom, all the ignorance is cleared away, then we are able to completely extinguish the suffering of samsara. The nature of the mind is such that as we develop it, it will only continue to improve and improve, to become more and more refined. So think, by tapping into that nature of the mind, I will use that to develop all of the positive qualities necessary to achieve both temporary and ultimate happiness. With faith, I will make single-pointed requests to the holy beings in order to be able to accomplish this. So we'll begin with the praise to the Buddha. So we'll begin with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. Dāmbā chōm dēndē dēshīn shēbā drā shōmbā yāndā bā dzōbē sāngē rībā dāng shāb sū dēmbā dēwā shēbā jīdēn chēmbā chēbū dūwē kālō gyōrwā lā nā mē bā lā dāmi nām gī Temba sangye chom dende pe chawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabzu chi ho Temba chandende deshin sheba dra chomba yanda ba zobe sangye sheba dang shazu demba Dewa sheba jiden chemba chebu duwe kalo jorwa lana meba ladang mi namgi temba sangye chomdende pejawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabzu chi o temba chomdende deshin sheba dra chomba yanda ba zobe sangye sheba dang shabzu demba Dewa sheba jiden chemba chebu duwe kalo jorwa lana meba ladang mi namgi temba sangye chondende pechawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabzu chi ho. Short mandala. So ji begi joje meto chan jeja linji nidi gyamba di sangye jinto mede bowa gi jogu nanda jinla che pa sho idam guru ratna mendala kam niryata yami. Refuge and bodhicitta. Chedan sogi chenam la changchu bardu dani kyausu chi dagi chenyen gibe senam gi jola penjir sangye joba sho Chedan sogi chenam la changchu bardu dani kyausu chi dagi chenyen gibe senam gi jola penjir sangye joba sho Chedan sogi chenam la jancho bardu dani kyabsu chi dagi chenyen gibe senam gi jola benjir sangye joba sho. Just change the sound setting to improve the quality. Losaki. So it's important for all of us, whether our session of practice will be a short one or a long one, to make sure that the session is complete in the beginning, the middle, and the end. So the holy beings stress this point, and they use examples that, for example, if you are going to enjoy a meal, if the preparations of the meal are all done excellently, right, then the actual meal is going to be much more enjoyable. So they say that it's difficult to say that I need to enjoy the main thing, like the meal, but I don't want to pay attention to the preparations, right? That is a bit incongruous. And so this is similar, right, when we speak about the preparations as it relates to the accumulation of virtuous karma, as it relates to the development of our positive mental qualities. Yeah, so this is why it is very important, right, when we speak about even bodhicitta, when we speak about calm abiding, it's important to make sure that the preparations are all in place before we begin the actual practice. And so then in terms of the preparation, then developing this wish to be able to achieve a state where we can bring benefit to all sentient beings, that motivation is one of the most important aspects of the preparation. And we have to see it's stated very clearly by the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas that what to speak of achieving the welfare of others. Without bodhicitta, we can't even achieve our own welfare or benefit in a complete way. If we are not able to kind of reach conviction about this point, that even the completeness of our own welfare depends upon achieving Buddhahood for all sentient beings, then actually there's a danger of self-cherishing creeping into our practice. Yeah, and so how this self-cherishing, or you guys will tell me, apparently it's kind of politically incorrect to say self-cherishing these days. Self-centeredness is like the new thing. So you can drop in the chat or drop in my email which one you want us to use. But Geshe said that, without that understanding, it is possible that self-cherishing can creep into the mind. So, it's quite a heavy thing to say that if we don't become convinced of the necessity of achieving Buddhahood for all sentient beings, to be able to secure our own welfare in a complete way, then the mind more easily veers towards self-cherishing, right? Understanding this point is something quite subtle. But let's leave it with the key principle here, which is that achieving Buddhahood, right, is essential, absolutely, to contribute to the welfare of others. But it is also something that is necessary to ensure the completeness of our own welfare, the welfare of ourselves. And so also when we speak about Buddhahood from the point of view of the two objects of attainments, right, we speak about the Dharmakaya, the truth body, for the sake of one's own welfare. So from that presentation, this point is clear as well. Right. So if you think, is Buddhahood really necessary to achieve my own welfare? Just think Dharmakaya for the purpose of one's own welfare. That makes that point very clear. So, of course, when we speak about the motivation, which is a key part of the activities at the beginning, the preparation, then the most supreme motivation that can be brought forth is to be is to be able to achieve a state where we contribute to the welfare of all sentient beings. And we know that as we develop this, the mind of loving kindness that this brings forth, this mind of loving kindness is something that is appreciated by all sentient beings, humans and non-human beings like animals. They are attracted to that energy of loving kindness. And, all of the things that we are doing in our practice, they will help us to improve upon that quality of loving kindness. If we are able to kind of develop more and more this mind of loving kindness, then all of the minds which cause us problems, they will slowly start to melt away. You can think of kindness, loving kindness, as the warm rain that falls upon a sheet of ice. So, but in order to be able to hold on to this quality of loving kindness within the mind in a stable way, right, then we need all of the instructions that we have been discussing, and so we shall turn to that. But first, let us just begin to settle the mind with a meditation of the mindfulness awareness on the breath. So just direct your attention to the breath. So we need to place the mind firmly upon the breath as our object of focus and keep it there. So we can try a technique where any difficult feelings, any distracting thoughts or conceptions that are arising, we can think of these as like the minnows moving beneath the surface of the water in a still pond. They do not disturb the surface of that water. Like water free of particles, we can think now the mind is clear, unencumbered, and peaceful. So having prepared the ground of our mind most excellently, then we will plant positive seeds within it. So thinking of those who are close to us, even those who we don't know, just bring forth this understanding that every sentient being, without exception, wishes to avoid suffering and wishes to achieve happiness.
대전 더 마제 다 모두 단도 쓸다가 이나요. 아로스로 그야게 쇼바 전부 이지 전부 소주세 강가 시기 대지마도 파자야 지종면
Not only that, but any sentient being, human, animal, and so forth, that we gaze upon, they are a basis for the arising of love, compassion, and bodhicitta, the qualities that we need to develop. Therefore, there is not a single sentient being that we can cast aside.
제 전부 들이질렀다네 다 여매바 이도 고마 니 자치수스 마다 다시야 니 내들 지종면
So, with this sort of big way of thinking, we can understand that without exception, there is not a being who is not close to us. All these beings are exactly the same as the person we see as closest to us. There is no enemy among them.
그래서 들이지야 되는 예나요 소소 다디니까 이네 로요다바 어다 손지가 로 손지세미 로 언도시키 차디야 이사 단도와 대다기 제도 손지지 공부 더더바지서 위
So then, thinking in this way, we wish for them to achieve benefit, and we ourselves have access to the path to Buddhahood. We have access to the path to arise bodhicitta. Therefore, we should think, for all sentient beings, I must actualize the state of complete and perfect Buddhahood.
전지슈는 예시도 저처도 다 가르 예나요 니바 강가로야 이사 때네 생제 요조 여매바 가른데바 이나이다 어도토 그래 소마지
If I'm able to do this, then I will be able to bring forth clairvoyance. I will be able to bring forth enlightened activities, all of the most effective ways to benefit sentient beings. Therefore, I must achieve Buddhahood.
왜
So we'll pause there. And I'm sorry, our smoke detector is doing that really annoying chirping thing, which means that it's going to start going beep, beep, beep very loudly soon. So I absolutely must take a couple of minutes to remove the battery temporarily, being fire conscious, just temporarily, so it doesn't disturb our session. I will be right back. My apologies. It's better to do that now because if it really goes off, it will be not pleasant for your ears. I guarantee you. Okay, again. Let's.
어다 들이지네라 다 보게 손지가 때네 저처도 가르쳤어
Oh, it hasn't stopped. I think this is probably our downstairs neighbor who's not home. Yeah, we'll have to ignore it for now. I hope it doesn't cause a problem. Okay, let's.
Oda 페르지 가제 뜻소노 또 가레 손이 저 간디스 텐데 펜바 간디스 드드 오다 테테테도 텐다와 시오토마수 제데 간디스 드근데 대지 페르 도나 드니 오스 그게 세주체로 된데 요아레
So Geshe is just saying that the holy beings, they advise us to understand the benefits of all of these aspects of a Buddha, right? The benefits of the clairvoyance they possess, the benefits of the enlightened activities and so forth that they are able to manifest. Because if we understand the benefits of this and how they contribute to the welfare of sentient beings, then this is going to really help us to boost our resolve to achieve that.
오다 드도 와스 오다 드지렌도 오다 나조 가도디 반조기 다디야로와
And so, having understood that, then we are going to continue with the text.
다 조지들라 된다 첨보라에 제가 나조 드리지는 달래 갈래자는 줘야 내가 제야 돼 조조대 동만 인에서도 또 하동
Right. And in order to achieve the state of Buddhahood, we also understand that one of the things that we really need to bring forth, that mind that apprehends emptiness, is what we call vipaśyanā, or special insight.
된다 동만 인에서도 또 발을 하동면은 다 답에 이자 다 동만 인에서도 또 소나
Yeah. So one thing we can sort of clarify here is that when that direct realization of emptiness is achieved, vipaśyanā has been brought forth. The vipaśyanā is brought forth with that direct realization of emptiness in the ultimate sense. So whether we speak of a here, a solitary realizer, a bodhisattva, even an ordinary being, right, in order to bring forth this vipaśyanā, the special insight fully, then that direct realization of emptiness is necessary. Right. Yeah. So when we speak about a direct realization of emptiness, it might be helpful to kind of think of an image to help us comprehend that. So when we are able to perceive emptiness just as clearly as Geshe is able to perceive those flowers that he was holding in his hand without anything between, this is the direct realization of emptiness. And this is also why we say that out of the three jewels of refuge, the actual refuge, the main refuge, is the Dharma jewel, because when it is realized, this is what happens. Right. So when is this achieved? If we think of this mantra from the Heart Sutra, Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisvaha, it is achieved from the path of seeing. And it is achieved from the path of seeing, whether we speak of the vehicle of individual liberation or the bodhisattva vehicle. Yeah. Younger Sonam? Yep. Oh, right. So in order to be able to achieve the special insight, which is the direct realization of emptiness, we have to have a special insight which has a conceptual realization of emptiness. Yeah. Yeah. So we can think of that mind which is conceptualizing emptiness as the form of vipassana or special insight, which is inferior to that direct realization. And Geshe said to give you a visual image of that, it would be like if he was looking at those flowers in his hand, but they were covered with a piece of thick plastic. You could see the flowers underneath, but there's something obscuring them slightly.
Yes, what?
Yep.
다 대토발라. 예, 다디다.
Yep.
대토발라. 돈이라미 비셔네.
Yep.
올라가니까 토고요.
And to get to that, we have to first achieve a calm abiding on the path of tsoklamrebe, of accumulation that is able to rest upon emptiness as its object. And so this progression is the same for those who are cultivating the bodhisattva path, for those who are cultivating the shravaka, the hearer path, for those who are cultivating the pratyeka Buddha, the solitary realizer path. Right. And so all of this is pointing us towards the fact that we need to be able to bring forth this realization of calm abiding that is able to hold emptiness as its object. This is something that is really, really important. But because it's not easy to do that with a subtle object of emptiness, this is the reason that texts such as this one tell us to begin developing calm abiding with a mental image of the Buddha, with a mental image of Tara, and so forth. So what Geshe is recommending is that, take those easier to work with objects for calm abiding, but from time to time, right, to create the imprints within your mind to be able to develop special insight, just try a little bit of meditation of the emptiness of the mind or the emptiness of the self, and hold this as your object of concentration. But Geshe said that also he would say that, in his opinion, as we train our mind in, for example, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, refining and bringing forth love, bringing forth compassion, if we've become familiar with donning those within the mind, then it will help us. It will make it easier to develop the calm abiding that is spoken of here. Because the danger here is, if we set aside everything and say, I'm only going to achieve calm abiding, we don't know, right, the factors that are in place, whether we'll actually be able to achieve that or not. And let's say that we don't achieve calm abiding. Because we've only been focused on that, we've lost the opportunity to develop other positive mental qualities. We've lost the opportunity to establish an imprint for the complete path within our mind, right? And that is actually a great loss. So similarly, though, we can think of cultivating this path of calm abiding connected with different motivations, whether thinking that I'm cultivating calm abiding to be able to realize moksha, liberation, to be able to actualize the state of a bodhisattva. I am bringing this forth to be able to achieve Buddhahood, right? If we are able to combine the practice of our calm abiding with such a motivation, it can become a cultivation of the Mahāyāna, or the great vehicle.
솔로가니까.
So we have to cultivate during the path of accumulation, a calm abiding, taking emptiness as its object.
돈이라면 별하동 졸로가니까.
양결승당?
돈이라면 별하동.
And then a special insight taking emptiness as its object during the path of preparation. Loso.
되니 텔라테네 돈이에서도 또 별하동. 솔로.
And then on the path of seeing, a special insight which includes this direct realization of emptiness. This is very important. Yeah, and so that is the path, regardless of motivation, that one must cultivate. All of us, there are kind of no exceptions to needing to cultivate those. Right, so there is possibility to cultivate an understanding of emptiness, to cultivate some form of calm abiding before one has actually entered the path, the 5 paths, right? But if one has not entered the path, we can't say, right, that this is like, for example, a special insight taking, or a vipaśyanā taking emptiness as its object, a special insight of vipaśyanā taking the direct realization of emptiness as its object. So yeah, there's a bit of a difference with the language there. Yeah. So when, with this mind, though, we cultivate emptiness, we cultivate single-pointed concentration, we try to arise a special insight, then depending upon our motivation, this becomes an antidote towards samsara. It can become a cause for liberation. It can become a cause for enlightenment. I'm really concerned that I'm not able to turn off the smoke detector because it's getting faster and faster and it's about to go through the whole house. So if I mute myself suddenly, you know what's happened. Listen. Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
We can't hear it at all.
You can't hear? No, but what happens is it starts with a chirp.
Yep.
Which is continuous, and then suddenly it will start to go full blast. And I'm worried that when that happens, it's going to be very grating. But I will try to mute it. If that does happen, I will try to mute it as soon as that happens.
Yeah, we at the moment we're not hearing anything.
Okay, no, that's good. It's very audible here. But it's good. I'm glad you're not hearing it because it's irritating.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Kogi Mendusa. Kine Kogi Mendusa. So Geshe said, if you guys can't hear it, it's not a big deal that we can. So there we go. Yeah. Again. Yep. Yep. The other thing to understand, too, is that when we speak of different contexts of calm abiding, special insight, and the higher trainings in ethics, concentration, and wisdom, that these are not practices that are exclusive to Buddhism, right? That you find the practice of these in the non-Buddhist traditions as well. So the thing is, there are clear benefits to developing those practices, but the problem is that when you don't have the philosophical framework of Buddhism in place as you cultivate those, then the problem is that they cannot become an antidote to the afflictions completely. They cannot become a complete cause for liberation. They cannot become a complete cause for enlightenment. Yes, so now we are going to turn to our discussion of the text. Yeah. Yeah. Nganso di shokdrang dunshudo sum nganso di deetar kangwa dunpe mikpa dela sem. Yeah.
Deetar kulan depi mikpa dela se jani tenila shishi jod se japa shago.
So we are on page 24, and I will read out the section that Geshe just read. In this way, place the mind on the object of your choice, and having done so repeatedly and continuously, place the mind.
다 소소 밑에 못 자가로 왔어. 밑에 띵에서 땜버 저기이나.
Yeah.
다 밑에 이미 짜야 돼 같이 버리대. 리라보지 말아시다.
So the first thing that we have to do when we are developing single-pointed concentration is to find and be able to focus upon our object. And in fact, this is not something that is at all easy to do, right? It's quite challenging.
다 밑에 소소 대쇼 진짜 자소나.
Mhm.
근데 뒤 대롱의 돌을 세운두는 지와서 저도
Mm.
최전 우지 땜보 지는 못하는 노도나 요가를
But once we have decided upon an object to focus and we've been able to find it in the mind, in other words, it's been able to dawn within our mind, we don't want to keep switching around. We want to be like a continuous flow of focus, like a river upon that object. This is very important. Because actually, if you get nervous, and you're switching your object of meditation all of the time, this becomes a bad habit. That is a big obstacle to concentration. Yeah, so Geshe is saying this isn't a criticism of how people do their practice. We're just talking about a person developing calm abiding, right? This is very specific. So yeah, don't take it personally. So, this actually can tell us how difficult it is to be a yogi or yogini who is developing calm abiding. Ultimately, it said if you're a serious practitioner of calm abiding, other than sort of eating, sleeping, and taking care of your personal hygiene, all of your time. Hygiene means, you said going to the toilet, but I said hygiene because I thought it was nicer. So all you're doing is, I guess, going to the toilet, eating, or sleeping, apart from those three things, right? All of your time is spent on that object of focus and developing it, right? Yeah. So Geshe said if you think about like a flintlock, right? Those two stones that you use to start a fire, you keep rubbing them, striking them together until the fire manifests. That's what a practitioner of calm abiding is like until the calm abiding comes forth. Yeah. So you can't just like put the flintlock together for like, rub the stones together and okay, now I'm tired, I'll put it aside. Okay, now I'm doing it again, now I'll put it aside, right? You're not going to be able to bring forth the result if you practice like that. Right. Zugusana? Yeah.
가디나 도토케지 코고모 잔팅에서 도토면 좋았어. 아니 코로라마 텔트가 저한테 자체는 도토면 가리나스 소지나 지에 자체 뭐지.
러서. 이제 통보치면 되게 디레 하거든.
다 저러 레몬 저러 가디나 다 바주가 통거라 왔어. 다 저러 바주가 라면 더시디야가 되겠어.
So one of the cases where it might be okay to shift our object of focus is if we have received advice to shift our object of focus from our spiritual teacher. So what Geshe is saying is he's remembering a story. He's not sure if it was the Buddha and one of his disciples or another master and one of his disciples. But this particular student was saying, it was really, really difficult to bring forth the object of focus and remain on it in meditation. So his teacher advised him, because you spent so many years as a cowherd, use the bull's horn as your object of focus in meditation because you are familiar with that object. And when he did that, right, he was able to have some success. So the idea here, right, is that whatever object you are more familiar with, it could be much easier to develop calm abiding using that as your object of focus. Yes, so Geshe said we better get to the text, otherwise we're not going to read much. Okay, listen. So also, So also check for dullness and see whether the mind is being distracted to external objects. If the mind is found to be dull due to sleepiness and mental torpor, or you feel that dullness is approaching, then the mind should attend to a delightful object. So Geshe said that what we are speaking here is we speak about the sorry. I went forward a sentence, previous sentence. Having placed the mind in this way, examine it and check whether it is properly focused on the object. Also, check for dullness and see whether the mind is being distracted to external objects. So Geshe said, what is being described here? Shejin, right? Introspection. We mentioned some different words for introspection last time. So introspection is what is doing this. Sorry. Yep. So then, we are speaking here, we're not even talking about calm abiding yet. We're still speaking about developing samadhi or single-pointed concentration. So what we can understand here, right, is that the two factors necessary to develop that concentration are mindfulness and introspection. Those again. Yeah. So think, for example, that you're taking the image of the holy body of the Buddha as your object, and you are holding this in your mind. Introspection is this quality which is like a bodyguard in the background, checking to see if mindfulness, right, for example, needs to be applied. But the key here, right, is that this has to operate in the background. The introspection can become an obstacle to refined concentration if it is too strong. But we can also, for example, lose our object if the introspection is not in place, knowing when to cultivate mindfulness. So that's the paradox here. Right. Yeah. Right. So, sorry. Shukchetra tene kuma kare? Kuma misa togo marawas kame citadi soba ti shu chimbo yona. Yeah. Tene kuma yo togo marawas. Ale, yeah. Di apo yore ro. Ta yapo sana tene o se koche tane se tembangola. Yeah. So Geshe is saying that this mind of introspection is sort of supposed to operate like a spy, right? If it is something that is too forceful within the mind, all the mind's attention is going to be kind of focusing on keeping that thief out rather than the object of focus. Huh? So this mind of introspection is something that we need to cultivate very skillfully, right? To the right intensity. So as we are taking our object of meditation, let's use the example of the Buddha. Where do we imagine the Buddha is as we don that object in our mind? If we imagine the Buddha at about our eye level, this will give us an emphasis on developing the factor of clarity of the object. Right. Sangyengönere samne. Right. Yeah. So if also we are holding that the Buddha's body is not solid, but it is in the nature of light, if we are emphasizing its quality as being in the nature of light, this is a way of reducing mental dullness. It's very helpful for reducing mental dullness.
된다 보게 예제도 된바 아버지 손으로 또는 서서 세 보게 쓰고 차야도
Right.
또마 차야를 배도 지와래.
So when we emphasize its luminous quality of the Buddha's holy body as our object, this helps us to develop clarity, right? And vividness, those qualities of clarity and vividness in our own meditation.
그래서 다 손지가 그 주주대 손지인에 잡아 예제도 된바 데이터를 잡아 이나.
Yep.
아니 니차대 야가
If we want to, more than clarity, focus on developing the stability of our meditation using the Buddha's holy body, that image as an object, we can imagine it actually not at our eye level, but more at our abdomen level, just above the navel.
그래서 니차도 사차니데 다 신의 때문에 드키시네 드킬 같이 해줘래.
So the factor of clarity and the factor of stability, both are essential to be cultivated if we wish to develop calm abiding.
다 신의 그 바지 채쇼대 신화도 개판이 있자 단다 대개와시요래. 시절
Yeah. So laxity and excitement are the two biggest obstacles to the development of calm abiding. Introspection is the observer in the background, which is able to know when laxity and excitement are becoming present in the mind. The smoke detector has stopped going off, so now my factor of excitement has gone down. So I'm a very happy person. Okay. Yep. How goes on? Yep. So continuing, and just what Geshe glossed actually. If the mind is found to be dull due to sleepiness and mental torpor, or if you fear that dullness is approaching, then the mind should attend to a supremely delightful object, such as an image of the Buddha or a notion of light, So Geshe said, how do we work with this mind of dullness or torpor in our meditation? Say that we are taking bodhicitta, love or compassion as our object of meditation, and we start to feel sleepy. Then we recollect the benefits of the positive mental quality we are developing. That's what we would do in that situation. Yep. So, in this process, having dispelled the dullness, the mind should try to see the object clearly. You should recognize the presence of dullness when the mind cannot see very clearly, when you feel as if you are blind or in a dark place.
공기체 메로 따고고 뭐뭐 슈바 따고고 메쯤바 따비 센제 메바 신더 싸와 무통와 대이제 신화 제바리바 샤고.
Yeah, so you cannot see the object very clearly when you feel as if you are blind in a dark place or as if you have closed your eyes. If, while you are in meditation, your mind chases after qualities of external objects such as forms, now we're beginning the section on excitement. Allez. Stukra.
Chanda sawa tata shingwa yungto de second to us, me longa tawa, Mumba Pada Devandawa. So tempo machana.
Yeah. So Geshe said that this is giving kind of clear sort of physical examples to help us develop a conception of what dullness is like in this particular case. So dullness can be like feeling as if we are visually impaired, feeling as if the room is become increasingly foggy or dark, and so forth. These are signs of dullness.
신화도 밑반일 제가 좀 보여서 요래.
Yeah.
밑바.
Mukpa. Yep.
밑발 개와요 말이 신화를 개와요 요서 요래.
Right. So there is a difference too between sleepiness and laxity. So sleepiness is always necessarily an unwholesome or minimum neutral mental factor. Laxity can sometimes be a wholesome or a positive mental factor. So that's a bit of a paradox there.
다 공개제 실로지 줄어서 봐라. 대도 예때 또비 주비 실로 예 이라 셰비 섬 녜뉴에 예란 레비세 개바고 게다 도바 통화티 이제 디지털 좀 봐. 류나라 소바 인주인 이보니라 자고.
So, continuing, if, while you are in meditation, your mind chases after qualities of external objects such as form, or turns its attention to other phenomena, or is distracted by desire for an object you have previously experienced, or if you suspect distraction is approaching, reflect that all composite phenomena are impermanent. We're at the top of page 25. Think about suffering and so forth, topics that will temper the mind.
다 소송엄마 사자야 보 사고야 보. 다 던지다 가리나. 바바시아사 예수 잡았더니 야르와스. 던지게 또로 고자비 가는 탄 도그라와스. 오다 텐도비 갈 개바세기 야레스.
So think that you are meditating here. And as you are meditating, you think about a restaurant that you really enjoyed, or you think about a place that you went on holiday and that you really liked. That sort of distraction arising is what we call mental excitement. Yeah. And it has this kind of excitement, sorry, one thing that Geshe mentioned, it has an element of attachment to it. And this makes it dangerous because it is like a little drop of oil placed on a cloth. It can begin to permeate the entire cloth. Right. So Geshe said that in terms of obstacles to calm abiding, right? We can speak about laxity, we can speak about torpor, we can speak about sleepiness, we can speak about distraction, we can speak about excitement, but in the actual sort of rubric of the calm abiding teachings, it's only laxity and excitement that are really pointed out as the two main obstacles. Yeah. Right. So of course, Geshe was saying that if you're trying to meditate on calm abiding, let's say, and you get really angry, that anger is an obstacle, right? So that anger is not mentioned here, but it is certainly an obstacle. Geshe thinks that laxity and excitement are focused on here because they are the two main ones as we begin to develop this practice. Yeah. So Geshe said that when you look at the teachings on calm abiding, anger gets a reprieve, because usually in Buddhist teachings we talk about anger as being the absolutely worst thing. Here it's not even mentioned, right? So it gets a bit of a reprieve. Lois again. Yeah. So Geshe said it's mentioning specific sort of strategies for when the mind of excitement is arising and is attracted to these external objects. We can think all phenomena are impermanent, all composite phenomena are impermanent, all contaminated phenomena are in the nature of suffering. If we contemplate this, it can reduce the excitement to those objects. Yes. Karekane.
시든지.
Shing, ale, yeah, hagas.
만도야.
Yeah.
어때네 우고 총소를 고자비가 시대 제 제용 거와.
Yeah, hagas.
다스튼 제나요 손이 되지면 가시서네. 오바.
Yeah. So Geshe said that, the determination of the meditator is a very important factor in developing calm abiding. And he's just reminding you of that story of the yogi in the cave who was meditating. And there was like some sort of like a huckleberry bush or some sort of thorn bush outside of his cave. And he was thinking, I really should cut back that bush because every time I have to leave the cave, I get scratched. But because he was so focused on developing his meditation, the bush just kept getting bigger and bigger, right? So, in this process, distraction should be eliminated, and with the rope of mindfulness and alertness, the elephant-like mind should be fastened to the tree of the object of meditation. So this is a very common image. We have the common image of we have the common image of the elephant. Geshe said we also talk about the monkey mind. The idea is that both the elephant and the monkey are very wild and go out wherever they want. We need to take a rope of mindfulness and tie it to a stake so that they stay in one place. That's the idea. Geshe said the elephant appears in many Buddhist stories. You'll remember the story of King Mahindra. He was under the influence of an evil teacher, and he was encouraged, to try and kill the Buddha. So when the Buddha was on an alms round where he was walking down a narrow pathway, I guess there was walls on either side or something like this, then they made this sound to send this crazy elephant charging towards the Buddha, this elephant who is decorated with all this armor and so forth. So that's another story of an elephant. So the crazy elephant, the crazy monkey mind is just to convey how our mind is not able to stay focused on an object. It's always going from place to place. Yeah. And so another thing that is going to help us develop our concentration is if we're taking a visual object of focus, we want to make sure that the image is very clean and very clear. This is very important. And Geshe said if it's a beautiful image, then this immediately gives rise to a feeling of joy within the mind, and we're going to be inclined to cultivate that image happily. So it's helpful from this perspective as well. So continuing, when you find that the mind is free of dullness and excitement and that it naturally abides on the object, you should relax your effort and remain neutral as long as it continues thus. So Geshe said that what this is pointing to, although it doesn't state it kind of verbatim, is that when laxity and excitement are not present within the mind, you need to relax this quality of introspection a bit and use that energy to increase the intensity on your object. So there's an example that is given here about the students of a teacher in a monastery. When the students are doing well, right? When they're doing well and demonstrating commitment to their study, when their ethical behavior is good, right? Then the teacher needs to sort of either praise them or just back off a little bit and let them cultivate. If the teacher continues scolding them, despite the fact that their studies are going better, despite the fact that their ethical discipline is good, rather than helping the student, that sort of scolding might actually discourage them and degenerate their practice. Alelas. Mar. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Ale, right. So it is, Geshe said there's an analogy of how to keep the mind when we are developing calm abiding. Maybe you guys will know what this means. I can translate it, but I'm not sure what it means. So he said it's like taking a ball of butter, placing it in a bowl of water, and leaving it under the sun. Okay. Right. So because of the cool quality of the water, the ball of butter within it is not going to be melted by the sun, even if you leave it outside. Nimala tene sabo tungtugire dua. Yeah. Similarly, because of the quality of warmth from the sun, right, the water will not get too cold and the butter will not become hard or unmalleable. So through the factor of the cool water and the sun's warmth both being present, the butter does not become too hard, nor does the butter melt. And that's how we want to develop our calm abiding. So when we speak about the development of single-pointed concentration, this is one of the common examples that you will see in many of the different texts. You should understand that calm abiding is actualized when you enjoy physical and mental pliancy through prolonged familiarity with the meditation, and the mind gains the power to engage the object as it chooses. So in this way, Geshe said, we have completed the section of calm abiding from Bhāvanākrama, stages of meditation. So Geshe said that he wants to speak, a little bit more on laxity and excitement. He feels that it would be beneficial to speak a little bit more on laxity and excitement. So when we speak about, sorry, yeah, dear. So just give me a moment to find my notes here. Oh, yes. Yeah. So Geshe wants to speak. Sorry, I found it. So Geshe wants to speak a little bit about laxity and excitement a little bit more, just to give more information. Yep. Yep. So there can be a type of laxity, and in this type of laxity, the mind has the factor or the aspect of abiding on the object, in other words, stability, but the aspect of clarity is not present. The aspect of clarity is not present. So some texts explain that this quality of clarity is not present. Some say that also the quality of vividness or lucidity is not present. So that first one is the coarse laxity, and then we come to subtle laxity, which is very pernicious. It's a tricky one. Why subtle laxity is said to be so dangerous is because a cultivator of calm abiding can fall into subtle laxity, mistake that subtle laxity for calm abiding itself, and waste months or even years of practice in that misconception.
다 대신와 참모도 간데레서나 세 니차고요 사차고요
Yep.
이나요 사칭 하름해봐.
So, how do we describe subtle laxity? So here the mind has both the qualities of the factors of stability and clarity, but the clarity is unrefined because it has an element of weakness or looseness.
아까서래.
Yeah.
어다 니차 요아레 사차 요아레 저 대니 게니 된도와 이나요 콩 알았지만은 니빠지만아 아니 다 비타본도 요 말에.
So the factors of stability and clarity are there, but because that element of clarity is weak or loose, the object cannot be held in the way it needs to be to develop calm abiding. Lakpe chala,
다냐. 빼나 빼나 자파바 고지 라피즈마이나. 다 라피즈도 주야레 되니 이나요. 다 템포치 야포치 주면아. 마쇼는 요다치라스.
Yes, yep. So Geshe said it's a little bit like, imagine your hand is holding on to a glass cup, but your grip is very tenuous. It's not firm. And so that means that the glass could fall out of your hand at any moment. Yeah. So this idea of ngar me means there's like a looseness. There is a lacking in strength in terms of the mind's grip on the object.
Yeah.
So the danger here is that you lose the object completely. Just like with slippery hands, the glass can escape your grip and smash on the ground below, right? So it's very dangerous, this subtle laxity. And so then when we speak of excitement, excitement can also be divided into coarse and subtle. Yep. So when we speak about coarse excitement, we can think that it has this element of attachment, and this makes the mind sort of scatter or reach towards another object, such as one of the 5 objects of enjoyments of the desire realm: sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and so forth. And so in this way, the stability on the object is lost. So that's coarse excitement. Yep. So with subtle excitement, the mind nominally is staying on the object, but somewhere in a corner of the mind, there's an aspect of attention which is about to jump to an object of distraction. Yeah. And so the image that is used to illustrate the subtle excitement is if there's a very cold winter where you're from, and you go to the bank of a river, and there's a thick layer of ice, but you can still see some of the water of the river moving beneath that ice. That's the image given to describe this. Yeah. And so Geshe said, especially with this subtle aspect, right? Because we don't yet sort of have a feeling for the taste of meditation, it might be difficult to sort of be able to pinpoint when that subtle laxity is there, right? So that's why we have to be sort of very observant, check very carefully with our meditation. So in this way, in terms of our conversation, we've been able to speak a little bit about what the calm abiding parted from the hindrances of laxity and excitement is like. Yep, yep. So cultivating calm abiding and special insight, if we want to use a modern example, Geshe thinks one of the best ones is you think about a really good driver of a car. The driver of the car is able to keep their eye on the horizon because he or she wants to get to their destination, but also out of the corner of their field of vision, they are observing to see if there is another car that is entering, if there are potholes and so forth, if there are any obstacles on the road. And so we can think also of calm abiding as another way to use this analogy is calm abiding is that mind which is keeping at the fixed point on the horizon to get to our destination. And vipaśyanā, or special insight, is that factor of the mind that's seeing any obstacles in the form of potholes, cars, wrong turns in the road. And in that example, then, the factor of introspection would be a little bit in the background. Right. So that sort of concludes at least a brief exploration of calm abiding, but Geshe said in subsequent classes he'll also share some other techniques for improving calm abiding. So then we are going to turn to our other text. We are going to turn to our other text. So one of the things that is most important for us to cultivate in our practice is this mind of compassion. And the deity Chenrezig, he is the embodiment of all of the Buddha's compassion. Cancer. Sorry. No. Hit lost a minute. Sorry, Dave, can you put the verse on the screen? For some reason, I've lost the first page. Can you put the prayer on the screen, the praise to the noble Avalokiteshvara? And then I'll have to follow along there. Praise to the noble. Praise to the noble Avalokiteshvara. Praise to the noble Avalokiteshvara. It's on our website. Trolamos. Does nobody have it? I'll go to my room then and get it, maybe. Just give me. I'll go and get it then. Yep. All right, I found it. Sorry, yes, it's here. So is there a link on the website though? Has everyone been able to find this prayer just to check in with you? So if it's not on the website, sorry?
It's on the website, but it's not a direct link.
It's not a direct link. Okay, yeah. Anyways, I have the paper here, so sorry about that, but I just wanted to make sure people can download it if they like. So you can download it if they like, and I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Losugi.
뭐야 다 가서 쇼로가 동보된 로스와스
Yeah.
예 쇼지 자와시도 지바데 먼저 더그 정도 녀바 쇼지 자와시도 지바 요아레스
So Geshe is saying that the first verse of this prayer, it speaks about the conquering Buddhas of the 10 directions, like being in the space in front of us. So the Buddhas surrounded by all of his children, or the Bodhisattvas.
그렇죠. 대지 강가로로 요수주 바 니제 대사샤와데 바바 셰레지레
And so we can think that also the essence of all of those Buddhas of the 10 directions, of their aspect of compassion, it shines forth as the deity Avalokiteshvara.
어다 바바 셰레지데 로 요주를 에
Yeah.
야 니체 디트르드 코지데 요아레스 차바세레
And so then also when it speaks about Avalokiteshvara being completely attached, this is not attachment in its usual sense. It is this compassion that is continuously observing all sentient beings. And so because he possesses these characteristics, Avalokiteshvara is like a great jewel mountain, and we offer prostration to him. This is the first verse. Loso. So the second verse, upon a mandala replete with the light of the moon, your feet like pure lotus petals stand together in the center of a pure and fresh lotus. In the world you radiate with perfect clarity like the moon when full. Seeing you, the heart is relieved of all pain, and great joy is spread everywhere. Yeah. So yeah. So Geshe says the feet here, they are compared to a pure and fresh lotus. So the idea is purity and freshness. Yep. And then the next one is clarity like the moon. So the moon has this idea of clarity. And what are the lotus and the moon? Also, they are the two seats upon which Avalokiteshvara sits, right? Yep. Maru. Yeah, yeah. Right. And so the And so also the idea is that we understand through this verse that both of Avalokiteshvara's holy feet are drawn inwards. Like with Tara, there's 1 foot out, or Maitreya, both feet down. This is not the case in Avalokiteshvara. Both feet are in meditation posture, perfectly seated on this lotus moon seat. Yep. Yeah. And just as the heart of the lotus is something beautiful and pleasing, so too the holy feet of Avalokiteshvara are beautiful and pleasing. Yeah. Los. Yeah. In the world you radiate with perfect clarity like the moon when full. So Geshe said, imagine that Avalokiteshvara's holy activities are complete like the luminosity of the full moon on the day of the full moon. Right, right. So it's like because of the clarity and the purity of this light, it is more powerful than a big assembly of flickering lights or lamps. Yeah. Seeing you, the heart is relieved of all pain and great joy is spread everywhere. This means that merely seeing Avalokiteshvara can bring forth happiness and can help us to dispel suffering. So Avalokiteshvara, to whom we offer prostration, is an object that is as worthy as this. So we will end the, I'm very sorry, I don't know what happened. I think it might have been, I had the fan on in my room, the paper flew away. Anyways, I'm really glad we got to share one verse. It's not a new situation, Geshe is saying. Anyways, I'm glad we got to share that verse. Yeah. So let us do the prayers of dedication and rejoice. If you need to get on with your day after that, please do. Otherwise, please stick around for questions and answer. Changjo semjo rinpoche maje panam jejo reji chewa nyamba meba yang gonde gonde bewa sho tongni tawa rinpoche maje panam jejo reji chewa nyamba meba yang gonde gonde bewa sho jambe pao jidar kyamba tang kundu zambo deyon de jente deda kungi jesu dalo chir gewa dida tamshe rabdu ngo desu shebe gewa tamshe ge ngowa gangla chodu ngapa de dagi gewe zawa dikun kya zambo choji rabdu ngowa ge Kanji rawe gongwe jingam de pendant dewa malu jongwe ne chen re ziwan tenzin jazo ye shape site bardu tenjochi. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Dave, for hosting this session. Oh, yeah. So Geshe said that because next week there's no class, he's giving you a homework assignment, and your homework assignment is to familiarize yourselves with these 9 abidings. So I've put the list of 9 abidings on my website, but they're also available everywhere. Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive has them there. So if you just put 9 abidings Buddhism, you'll be able to find them.
Right,
right. Yep. Nyepanga. Yep. Nyempoje. And so one of those days. And so with the 9 mental abidings, Geshe was also saying, think during that abiding, which of the 5 faults or the 5 obstacles is the biggest danger during that particular abiding. That's another useful thing to know.
This one?
Yep. Right. And then think about the 8 antidotes and how because the obstacle or the fault of laziness is the most pernicious, it gets 4 antidotes, whereas the other ones have just 1 each. And Geshe is saying that, he really wants you to become familiar with these in part because even, putting aside calm abiding, if you're developing bodhicitta, love, compassion, wisdom realizing, emptiness, for example, laziness is a hindrance to all of those. And so if you know the 4 antidotes to laziness, that's going to help you with developing all of those qualities.
This one, teji tani kato sunji lajar ure duas, kaya tribika, teji kangal olu zushu, kadina, yunju la sungu duas.
Yeah, right. And so the Buddha himself also, as one of his main pieces of advice, he exhorted his disciples to memorize these 9 abidings, the 5 faults, and their 8 antidotes. So this really shows you that these are really a helpful thing to be able to remember for our practice.
This one, techi yona kurashida was satanda which you want to finish getting another dish was, techi getting so was.
And if you learn these, then you have a map in your mind for this rubric of calm abiding. So when you hear Geshe or any teacher speaking about concentration, you'll be able to conceptualize what is being spoken very easily based on that fundamental understanding. Right. So Geshe said that because we don't have class next weekend, then you definitely have time to put a little bit of effort into learning this if you're of a mind to.
Yeah, that's why you want to do.
So Geshe welcomes questions if there are any questions. Yeah. And thank you everybody for bearing with me with that page. That was embarrassing. He said that Tedrup's extremely hard-headed and stubborn, so he doesn't organize himself. The ADD doesn't help either. Yes, whoever, I'm not sure who was first, Annie or Deki Lee, so I see both of your hands. So whoever, yeah, Deki, go ahead. Somebody go ahead.
Deki Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, Deki Lee, go ahead. Yeah.
All right. I'm going back to your metaphor of the meditator or the monk who used to be a sheep yak herder.
Yeah.
And of shifting his object of focus to the horns.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking very personally because of the brain injury, is that, and already being a bit of an ADD type, years of practice has been turned into like real major ADD now. So the question would be, do you kind of try to just abort because it isn't working that well and go back to something very, very familiar like that?
Yeah.
And try to cultivate it again using something very familiar, then switch it to something more with
virtuous
better,
or whatever.
Yeah. More virtuous.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I've got your question, Deki Lee. Yeah. Then chirtang Deki Lee and arwa ko mota tab kyun chone rwa then lepa la tes neswa ani di ngela namyeng mambo droya di donang te gina sangan sa nangshin chikye re duas then dendre impa yindu rwa ngama jangtar din so chetsangwa laksa re dua ta tingenzin jaya tets kale kawayin sangan so ngama rawadi ziogi rawachik samlo tangores di migpasogores kalopchik raswa then so kange yona so halepe gom chempo yopagi yulchik mikulchik damka chena digire bes then di tempo chana then di jela gewegi yul drona digire bes gewi migpa drona digire bes Yep. Yeah, so Geshe said that's absolutely fine. Absolutely. So if you're in such a situation, if it's difficult to develop focus with that object, then take that object that's familiar, that you can bring forth into your mind clearly. And then once you develop firmness and stability in that, you can try to switch to the virtuous object. That's totally fine. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, But Geshe said that he also thinks in your case, as somebody who studied for a while, you have imprints for lots of different topics or possible objects of focus in your mind already. So just try some of those different ones and see if one of those works. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Annie, go ahead.
This is also kind of personal question. After Robert Thurman died, I was in deep shock the day that happened. And at first I was able to focus pretty well on doing prayers for him and Lama Chopa. But as the weeks have gone on, I've gotten very scattered. I can't seem to bring my regular practice into just being focused as it was before. It seems to keep wanting to drift off somewhere, so I need some advice on that.
Kongi di nature di jarum buche di roba kere chambo di Bob Thurman di katuri lobja gegen di chi tronswa. Kodi gegen tanya buche kre duas. Ane dene tambo trong du dene Lama Chopa dang ngoe mun lam den so soya tets ots le labore duas. Ine tanda di sem tets chopo chane nguma nangshin donang yapo te tugimen duas. Ane sem yengwa tets mangru droya. Rwa kasa kala droya di tets mangru chagire duas. Ane nguma nangshin donang te tets kalikapore du. Yeah.
Me ta te 다 조지대 예 조지대 다 도자가를 쓰는 도요나 조 주세도 되지 배 야보게 거의 님이 야보 쓰는 도나 어다 대우 주치 뭐지 그래서 왔어.
So Geshe said that in this kind of case, he thinks it is really good to bolster our resolve. So he said to bolster your resolve, think about why you practice, and then contemplate the benefits of bodhicitta. To bolster your resolve, think about the drawbacks of samsara. That might help to center you more.
야, 다른 안조. 네. 뭐 저건 너는 조지 되지요. 그래서 배에 돈을라.
So when we speak about the antidotes to the different obstacles to our concentration, one of them can be recollecting the benefits. So recollect the benefits of what you're trying to develop.
다 배 가지 고마이나. 내가 때문에 대화 때문에 저거래. 대화 때문에 저서는 오면 봐. 젠지 때문에
So what you'll find is if you gently reflect upon these benefits, right? Slowly that faith and that wish to practice will manifest. Once that wish is there, then the joyous effort will start to flow again. So Geshe said, he just gave those examples as things to cultivate the benefit, to reflect on the benefits of or the disadvantages of, but we can reflect on the disadvantages of distraction, the benefits of mindfulness, like that. This can help recenter us. And also, you can think back when I was practicing this in a focused way, what were the benefits that brought me, right? What kind of impact did that have on my mental happiness, and return to that experience. So all of these things, recollecting the benefits, recollecting the disadvantages, going back to those positive experiences, this can all help us to kind of reset that mind, reset that mental focus. So Geshe said there's other loads of strategies actually, but those are a few to try out.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm sure it's something that so many of us have experienced sometimes.
Yeah,
so are there any other questions? Oh yes, Rebecca, sorry, I didn't see your hand there. Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to say that Annie's question is a real help to all of us who were students of his. It's just a very, very difficult time, and Annie, I appreciate that. My question is very banal. I have a hard time conceptualizing every sentient being in the world, and I often can't get there and find myself, silly as that might sound, just sort of struggling with that and not moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, Anigi achuadi gasong karinsana de lama di chone koyang kangate so morangi chiwa dires rwa nganso semshen tamche mambo chiglagire dwa semshen tamche tokpa dikia tes kali kapore semshen tamche samlotana kandes chik samlotangores semshen tamche ki tokpa kia tes kali kapore dwas
네 메시지 도체 투바시아스나 뭐도 가로 소설 보게 예 세일 쇼바도 이지 때 뭐지 그거 와스
yeah
아그서를
right yeah
어다때 마슈 받은 가서 다 대신 얘네들 보게 차송하지 저도요 말아 와스
이네 semshen tamche kandes chikres yongyo marerwa semshen tamche halepe mambore duas di semla shaya pet kale kapore duas semshen tamche chuadire. Yeah, we it went in a bit of a different direction, but we're back to the root of your question, Rebecca. So I guess that understands what you're conveying now. It's just the vastness, the incomprehensibleness of that all sentient beings, right? That's what you're pointing at. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Pet chempure duas nganso semla shaka.
다세 건다 간조 달야 디세고 거찬에 그 맞던 로요 말아 와스 동보 빼는 이지 나래 쇼바이나 접이가라 동보 소소가 녀라고 칠소도
Yes. Yeah.
데니 갈레 다 파자체르도니 다마 밤에 데니 소소 녀다서케 아 단다고
Yeah.
데니 또 봐 데니자 쇼방에네 저기지 대선 로요 아래
So Geshe said that, part of this probably stems from the fact that actually he doesn't take enough time in this meditation. We just sort of jump right in. So when you're trying to develop compassion for all sentient beings, right, you would start it as phases, as a narrow circle that builds out. So first you think of those close to you. Then you think it expands towards strangers. Then it expands to the people that you have difficulty with. Then it expands to the animals and gradually to all types of sentient beings. So one helpful thing can be to start small and expand. Loso. So one way to kind of like a mind hack for this is we just have to have the conviction that it's all sentient beings. We don't actually need to conceptualize all sentient beings within our mind. So just think of this inclusive thing of all categories within sentient beings, and then think, okay, that's all sentient beings. So you can also think of it in terms of representations of the different types of sentient beings. So you could have one human being, and this human being is the representative for all of the human beings, in all of the different places, right? Just like if you see a single flower, right? And you think, gosh, isn't that flower beautiful? All of the flowers of this world are similarly beautiful. May I offer them up? You can think about it sort of like that.
Okay. Thank you.
But
Geshe said that actually he thinks that this is a good sign because we can actually just say all sentient beings and think that like we're getting it, but all sentient beings is actually something pretty difficult to bring into the mind and to conceptualize fully. So Geshe just recommends building up in stages or thinking of like a point of reference.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome, Rebecca. Okay, so I don't see any other hands, but does anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes,
Hi,
go ahead.
This is Trudy. I'm sitting next to Rebecca.
Oh, hi there. How are
Her
you?
hand is still up. So,
No worries. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Trudy.
I have difficulty. I don't understand what suchness is. I just that word, meditation, abiding, search for suchness with wisdom.
So you want the definition for suchness, right?
That's it, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. De konani serna kareres, de konani mambuchik lagire dua, de konani gidonda kogimendus, di kareresa.
De konani seri ta, de konani tenda karere seri. De konani seri la pena medun del nes koro rapa mambo yar was mi to ya. Ta mi mo thon mato yi ta phe ta ju ji yar was. Del de konani tumbani simi yar.
So Geshe said, to explain this, let's take these flowers sitting on his table as an example. So we can see that the flower has this aspect that our eyes can see, but then it has a mode of abiding that we cannot perceive with our eyes. That ultimate mode of abiding is its emptiness of inherent existence, and that emptiness is the suchness of those flowers. When we first see the flowers, we think, oh, those are some flowers, and there's definitely some sort of findable, pinpointable, essential flowers that we could find if we looked for it. But if you were to take each leaf, each blossom apart, disassemble all of the parts, then that seemingly findable flower would disappear. So that lack of findability, the flower's emptiness, is the suchness of that flower. And each thing that we could possibly contemplate has its particular suchness, the suchness of our mind, the suchness of the self or the I, right?
Yes, right.
But what does that mean? I mean,
it's emptiness, essentially, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's Geshe said it's in fact of one meaning with emptiness.
Okay.
It's just a different word for emptiness.
Thank you.
Right?
That's really helpful.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
I'm just checking with Geshe. Yes, it's one meaning. Emptiness, suchness is one meaning. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca and Trudy. Right. Yeah. Right. So Geshe said that if we say the self, the I, or the vase are emptiness, they are not emptiness themselves. They are empty of inherent existence, but those objects are not emptiness itself. This is an important distinction. Yeah. Yeah. Tompa ni sere karere. So when the nis on the end of emptiness, or the ni at the end of tompani, which is the Tibetan word, this is pointing to that ultimate mode of abiding, which is the emptiness itself. Yeah. So when emptiness arises in the mind, that emptiness that arises is necessarily the opposing factor to the appearance of true existence.
Yeah.
Right. So the flowers being empty of inherent existence, you can't say that they are emptiness, because the flowers dawning within the mind cannot clear away that misconception. Yet, at the same time, if you ask, are the flowers empty of inherent existence? Yes, they are empty of an inherent existence, but they are not emptiness itself. So empty and emptiness in Tibetan, tompa and tompa ni, it's very important to distinguish between those two. Right. So this ni, which we would say as the ness, the suchness, or the emptiness, that's a very important qualifier philosophically in the Tibetan language.
Is it?
I think so. So Dave, is there anything on socials today, or is it quiet there?
It's quiet.
Is it quiet? Yeah,
No.
yeah. Didn't
Why
Did
that
it-
doing Geshe?
So Geshe's saying if there's nothing, then maybe he'll do a super short story before we break
Oh.
for the day. Does that sound
Yes,
good?
I go because
If Kedrip doesn't
Anna's
complain
coming
about
at
the
noon,
story.
so I'm gonna go see if she's there.
So he said that if Kedrip doesn't, I won't complain, I promise. So let us have the story. I hope it's a story I can understand. That's all I'll hope for. Wing and a prayer. Okay. Mhm. Yep, yep. ZOD, double chaparas. Yeah. So this is a story in India of a family of shepherds or herders. I guess it has to be a herder because here we're talking about cows and oxen. So on the basis of securing one cow, they were able to slowly build up their collection of cows till they came to be the proprietors of quite a large herd. Yeah. Yep. Agosung. Yep. So the herder of this herd of cattle had a special liking for the first bull that he ever purchased because he thought it is through this bull that I was able to get that first measure of financial stability, which allowed me to purchase all of the other cattle within the herd. And because of that, he allowed that particular bull to roam around wherever it wanted. He didn't fence it in or tie it up like he did with the other cattle. And so because he allowed that bull to roam free, the bull started to go further and further afield, seeking out nice grass and leaves to eat. And eventually the bull, he came to a precipice and he fell over into a canyon. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so it was a deep enough canyon that he was not able to get back up from whence he came. So it was quite a serious situation. Yeah, yeah. So it so happened that the place where the bull had fallen down was the same place where Venerable Shariputra was taking his morning walk. And Shariputra saw the bull there. Yeah. And so Shariputra, of course, wanted to help this bull, and with some effort, he was able to guide it and push it out of that ravine back on to the more stable land. And after he did this, Shariputra was wondering, what kind of a creature is this? Does this creature have an imprint of virtue within its mind or not? And he saw actually that he had a deep imprint for moksha, for liberation, a deep imprint for happiness within his mind stream. And so using his refined power of clairvoyance, Shariputra thought, this creature possesses this uncommon imprint of virtue within its mind stream. On the basis of what? On the basis of who was it possible for it to have that imprint? And as he was kind of contemplating and thinking about this, his clairvoyance was able to penetrate that actually what was going to be able to activate that imprint for liberation within the bull's mind was his meeting with Shariputra himself. And understanding this, then, Venerable Shariputra whispered many verses of Dharma within the bull's ear. And then Shariputra, leaving the bull, returned to where he dwelled, to the monastery. And so that bull, it was getting on in years, so it was not too far from its death. And when it experienced its death, remembering the kindness of Shariputra, the bull was able to hold a recollection of Shariputra firmly within its mind. Yeah. Venerable Shariputra, after some time had passed, wondered what happened to this bull. And using his powers of clairvoyance, he saw that it had passed away. So he thought, where has it achieved its rebirth? Yeah. And so, because this bull had recollected Shariputra at the time of passing, it was able to take rebirth in Vaishali, which was the place where Shariputra was dwelling, and it was able to be reborn in a noble family. And eventually, Venerable Shariputra was able to visit the home of this family where the bull had been reborn. And when he came to the home, and this happened to be a faithful Buddhist family, they invited Venerable Shariputra to sit down. And as the father was speaking, the child's gaze did not waver from Shariputra. It was like there was nothing else that was happening. Yeah. And noticing the child's fixation upon Shariputra, where normally it wasn't able to focus on any members of the family, the father, the parents, and so forth, they thought, oh, our baby has a very strong connection with Shariputra. So as he got older, they sent him to Shariputra to learn and study. And within that lifetime, due to his connection with Shariputra, he was able to achieve the state of a foe destroyer. So that is a historical story from the time of the Buddha that Geshe wanted to share with you. So Geshe said this will also help you to understand, why so many holy beings, various lamas and so forth, they make a point of stopping and saying some mantras or whispering some mantras into the ears of animals that they might come across, because it can establish that connection to ripen virtue. Yeah. So Geshe said, like, even if you're just like not a lama but an ordinary being, you have specific affinities with sentient beings that you are eventually going to lead to liberation. And so you can't say for sure that you don't have a connection with that particular being. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will be back not next Sunday, but the Sunday after. Take care, everybody. Stay happy, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, may I say something?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I just want